Hi, hello, my name's Beth. I'm an avid reader and an aspiring author, and today we're doing my June and July wrap up. It's a few days early, but my life is chaos because I'm about to be moving. Me and my partner have finally got a move date, so yes. But it means that content might be a little bit few and far between, just for a little bit, because we're in the process of moving. I think we've all been in the chaos of a move, and it's even worse for me because my partner is currently in Cyprus with work, and will be in Cyprus with work for our move. But anyway, I'm going to stop rambling because I want to film this and get out on a nice walk, because the weather is actually pretty decent for a walk in Scotland for once. So, June and July. I have read a lot. And, I'm impressed, but also concerned that all I have done is read. So, first in July, nope. First in June, let's do June first, because that makes logical sense. I read The Keeper of Lost Things. This book was incredible. It's about a man and his assistant. The man dies, who is an author, who has collected things that he's just found that have been lost. And he's created like a library. He makes stories out of them. And like it turns out that he can like see where they were lost, and those stories are based on that. And then there's an autistic girl who befriends the assistant after the man has died, and they go on a journey to try and return everything. I think I gave this book 4 stars. I would have given it 5, but there was just some bits and I was like, oh, come on, hurry up. And it had like the stories written in, and I don't know, I always get distracted during those bits, so I'm like, just give me back to the normal story. So this was a 4-star book. I really enjoyed it. Then next I read Where the Crawdads. I always want to say crawdogs, but I know it's not that saying. A, this cover is beautiful. B, I know that this has been very popular this year. And it's about a girl who grew up pretty much by herself in a marshland, and then things go down and she ends up having to go through a trial, and everyone's saying that she's guilty, or wants to believe that she's guilty, because she's been an outsider her whole life and she doesn't do things the normal way. But in the end she ends up to be like a really prominent author, and it's so sweet. I recommend this to everyone. I think I gave this 4 stars at the time, but having sat on it, I would actually up this to a 5-star book. It's such a good story, and I don't know, it made me look at my life and just be like, oh, maybe I should be more like this and be a bit more assertive with what I want and things that I like. And sticking with like the reflective theme for June, I read The Midnight Library. Also, another very popular book. Everyone was raving about this, and I understand why. Although it did take me a while to get into it, but once I was into it, I devoured it. It's so good, and it's a pretty short book. It's under 300 pages. It's about a woman who takes her own life. So trigger warning, there is themes of death and suicide in this. But then she goes to the Midnight Library, and she's given the option to go through a lot of different lives that she could have lived. I wish I'd annotated this because it was incredible. Again, I'm going to say this is a 4-star book, just for me personally, just because it took me a little while to warm up to the story. But once you're into it and she's going through all of her different lives that she could have lived, absolutely incredible. It really makes you realise how like delicate and wonderful life is. And even if you go through all the what ifs, would you actually want to change them for the life you currently live? Also, Matt Haig is an incredible author. This is the first book I've read by him, and it's definitely, well, it wasn't the last because I read another book by him. And then the last book I read in June was Hannah Khan Carries On. Why is no one talking about this book? I just saw this cover in Tesco when I was doing my shopping. It was £3.50 when I was in there, and I was like, it's cheap. I like the look of the cover. I'll give it a go. It is a book that so perfectly talks about discourse of race and stigmatisms in our current society. It's about a girl named Hannah Khan who has a podcast, and she works in radio, and I'm trying to find the words to describe it. Her boss, like, she's an intern at the radio station, and her boss is like trying to do kind of performative inclusivity, I suppose, talking about like their issues, but Hannah doesn't agree with how she's going about it. It's like all very much talking about like, she wants to talk about like the daily issues, whereas her boss wants her to talk about like radicalism, and then like her family's restaurant is about to shut, and there's this mysterious man, and oh my god, please just read this book. It's so good. And not enough people are talking about it because I had not seen it. Apparently it was winner of Cosmopolitan's Book of the Year in 2019. So maybe I just missed the hype. But yeah, this book. I would say the author's name, but I would butcher it. So I'm not going to even attempt it. And then we're on to books I read in July. And when I say that I read a lot in July, I mean it. There's what, 7 books here? Technically one I haven't finished because I am filming this on the 23rd. So I've still got a week. I've still got a week to finish it. But I don't think I'm going to get past this book because it's a chunky boy. But let's find with what I started the month with. I started the month with Fork, the Witch and the Worm by Christopher Paolini. I love the inheritance cycle. I picked this up because I thought it would answer my questions. And it's left me with more questions. I think I gave this book 3 stars just because it didn't deliver what I wanted it to deliver. However, it does say Volume 1 on the side, Volume 1 Aragorn. So I'm hoping that we get like Volume 2 and 3 and like that, and it just answers those questions gradually. But this is 3 short stories called The Fork, The Witch and The Worm. But it was hard to read because one of the chapters was 100 pages long, and that is just too long. Then I read All Our Hidden Gifts. This book, again, 5 out of 5 stars. And we're back. Just had to have a little break because I was running out of breath. It's about a girl in Ireland who finds a set of tarot cards, and then the world gets a bit weird after she finds these tarot cards. And her best friend goes missing, and it's this journey to try and find out what's gone on. It's got LGBT themes in it, accepting yourself, understanding who you are, and like just believing that you can do things. This is young adult, and you can tell it's young adult, but the story is so good that it makes up for it. I devoured this book in a couple of days, so yeah, it's great. Also, I'm in love with this cover. It's so pretty. I nearly dropped it. Then I read They Both Die at the End. Controversial opinion. I don't think this was that good. Everyone has been raving about this. My friend was raving about it to me and be like, oh my god, just read it. I wasn't the biggest fan. I understand why people loved it, and it's a really interesting concept. But I felt like you didn't, like, it just goes straight into, because it's set within 24 hours. You don't get enough detail about the world, and then there seems like characters that are just chucked in for the sake of it, and it gets a bit repetitive at times. It is a good book. I just don't think it was the one for me, personally. Although I did read it in 2 days, so it was good. I just wish it delivered more, and because I knew they both died at the end, when they both died, I was like, well, is that it? I was expecting something a bit more, I don't know. Like, it got to their deaths and it was just a bit of like a into the story, and it's like, it wasn't ending on a high, and I like stories that end on a high, or like don't just drop off, like just and the ending just wasn't for me. But if it sounds interesting to you, pick it up, because it is worth a read, and I did read it in 2 days, and I wouldn't usually do that with a 300-page book. But the characters felt flat because you're only with them for 24 hours, you don't get to see into their lives properly, and just, as I said, some things just felt really forced. And then I read The Comfort Book by Matt Haig. In my Goodreads review of this, I said this book was like just falling into a large soft pillow. Yeah, I think everyone should own a copy of this book. It's not the most amazing book in the world, it's just thoughts and ramblings of Matt Haig, but it makes you realise that maybe your thoughts and ramblings are the same as most people's, and we all overthink the same things. Also, this cover, beautiful, and because I've got the hardback, oh my god, it is just beautiful. Although I am going to keep the dust cover on because it's white and I'm terrified that I'm going to get to crap all over it. Also, just look at that, I want that as an art print. Such a good book. And I devoured this in a day because it's like very big writing, and obviously as you can see there's lots of blank space, and it's 260 pages. Most people probably would have devoured this within a sitting, and I read like 100 pages in a sitting, but I had things to do in the middle of it. And then I read Taylor Jenkins Reid, Malibu Rising. This is the first Taylor Jenkins Reid I've read, and I loved it. Again, it took me some time to get into it, but once I was into it, once you get to the party scene, because this is all about the Riva family. Even though I keep wanting to call them the Riviera family for some reason, and it's about the complications of not having parents around and coming together as a family and working things out, and just life getting in the way. And then there's this big crazy party that gets out of hand, and it's just incredible. But I'm glad I stuck with this because I nearly gave up on it because I couldn't get into it at the beginning. If you could hear sound, sorry about that. I had like the TV on and paused, and it just decided it needed to play. Interesting. Things could always go wrong with me, don't they? But yeah, also beautiful cover. And then I read Go the Distance. This is another Twisted Disney Tales book. It was alright. I gave it 3 stars. Because it says at the bottom, what if Meg had to become a Greek goddess? So I thought we was going to get like the trials and tribulations of her on Mount Olympus. But it's about her journey to become a goddess. And it is good. It is really good, and it's a good story. I just really struggled to get through it. I don't know if it was just not the thing I wanted to be reading or something, but I did it. Like the last part of the book really sped up and was really good, but the beginning was a bit meh. There's a lot of, I know why, because you have to go on the journey with the characters, but it felt very forced, very just dawdly. But still, I'm glad I read it, and it was an interesting premise for a book. And I am going to continue reading the Disney Twisted Tales. And then the last book I read and reading, I'm only a little bit through it, is Realmbreaker by Victoria Aveyard. I can't tell you what this book is about because I'm 20 pages into it at the moment. This is the issue with filming so early, but I've got to get it done. But this will be the last book I read. I'll probably update you on what I think of it in the future. I've only read the prologue at the moment, so it's hard to tell. But this evening I will be getting into this. So yeah, those are the books I've read in June and July. And I hope that this has either inspired you to pick up one of these books or made up your mind about one of them. But yeah, so as I said, content may be a bit all over the shop at the moment just because of moving and that kind of thing, and my books are currently, I'm looking at them, or one of the book boxes, in boxes. So there's that. There's a bird in that tree. Hello, Mr. Birdie. I have the attention span of a gnat, but hopefully before long, when you see me, I'll have like beautiful bookcases behind me and I won't be in this horrible flat. So I'm hoping that my next video might be something author related because I haven't done that in a while. I'm thinking of maybe doing the ridiculous things that I've had to Google from writing a book, because my search history, it's strange. It's really strange. But yeah, I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.